All right.
Alrighty, here we are.
Episode 4.
Number 4.
Quattro.
Absolutely. We've been here for almost a full month now, hey?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. It's almost February. What are we at? The 23rd?
Yeah, I guess we have one more episode left in January after today.
Oh, yeah. We have 5 eps in the first month.
Yeah, I like it.
That's pretty sweet.
That's awesome.
Pretty sweet. All right, man. Checking in with everybody. This is, as you probably noticed, you're still listening to Diary of an Indie Band. We are LooPS. And if you're confused at what you just heard, well, that's checking out.
That's checking out. It's our song that's going to be coming out this Friday.
So what time is it debut, Jay? 9 a.m.?
9 a.m. BC
Pacific
time.
Yeah. 9 a.m. Pacific on Friday, the 28th.
12 p.m. Eastern.
12 p.m. Eastern. So if you haven't already done so, go to Spotify. Make sure you give us a follow, and it will be up there live. If you follow us in advance, then what will happen is hopefully it will get into algorithms. You might even have it in your new music or your recommended for you folders and your Spotify playlist. So
yeah, it'll automatically pop up in there. So definitely give it, I think right now you can pre-save it that we've shared onto our LooPS Facebook page, and then we'll be posting another one onto our Instagram coming up pretty shortly here. But
definitely in the next few days on Instagram as well. We're going to have a little pre-save video courtesy of DistroKid, the people we mentioned in a previous episode as the ones that are distributing the song. So they are done our first 2 CDs. First 2 singles.
Whoa. I'm like, I've only done one, buddy.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
They will do our second single as well. And as for the album, TBD. We don't know if we end up, like I said, things turn out the way they might end up turning out in the next little bit. If we're working with a label or we're working with someone to help distribute it, then we're going to go obviously the route that they want to go.
Yep.
But as of right now, we're still self-distributing digitally, and that's where checking out is going to be. It's going to be exactly the same as Parachute.
Absolutely. So that was a little clip from that song. It's just the first whatever seconds that is.
Yeah. So that's going to be our theme music until we come up with some John and
else.
Kevin. This is a podcast. We hope you like it.
Exactly.
Da-na-na-na.
Something like that. Super
just
cheesy.
Just clip that. Cut that out in the editing, and then we'll just add some harmonies to it, and that will be our podcast theme.
Yeah, I love it. That's awesome. So for anybody who doesn't know us, I'm John. John Fennell. This is Kev, who's sitting right across from me here, and we are LooPS. Thanks for tuning in with us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
And this is Diary of an Indie Band. We're going to talk about our week now. We have a couple segments. We'll get into our top 5s after that. Our new music selections. I got a really cool one I think you'll like, nice. John.
Yeah.
From a really cool, eclectic, just a total weirdo of an artist. And I know he would be super proud to even proclaim himself that. And he's super cool. I love it. I think this guy's super funny.
Awesome. I'm excited for him.
Yeah. And then we're going to wrap it up with our goals and moving forward. So first things off, let's, as we always do, let's talk about our week. Our weeks were very aligned this week. I don't think we did a lot of stuff separate. What do you want to talk about first?
Well, first and foremost of this week, I mean, let's start with the biggest thing, which was Friday. Friday, we had our label meeting. So we had a meeting with this label out in England. I don't mind sharing the location because I won't share the name.
London, England. We won't say the name. We won't say the name yet.
But the guy that we spoke to, super cool, nice guy. Unfortunately, he didn't have the best connection on his on
Zoom, on
his end of things. So things are breaking up as we were going. But I mean, we did a whole bunch of research before even agreeing to this meeting with this guy. And,
absolutely.
Wanted to make sure that everything was going to be cool going into it. So you know what, it ended up being a super positive meeting and lots of good things to take away. So I'm excited for what's coming up with that, and we'll see kind of where it takes us.
Yeah, the big thing about the meeting was, when we were talking, we went into this with the concern that possibly their company deals with 3 different things. They deal with making, mixing, mastering, producing an album for anybody that wants that, or singles. They also deal with the actual distribution, marketing, promotion as a label of the actual album itself. Yeah. And then there's the music, obviously just being a manager, the actual talent management of the element of the business. So big thing for that was we're obviously looking for a label to actually help us distribute and market our album on a large global scale. Mm-hmm. And we're also looking for management or some kind of representation potentially. So that's kind of what we want. Whether or not that's what they were looking for is a different story. We were kind of thinking, you never know. He might just be looking just to take the album. We've already paid a lot of money. We already put tons of time. We found a fantastic producer in Doug Cox. We don't want to go make the whole album again.
Yeah.
But it didn't appear that's kind of his intention. He said to us when he was asking us our goals, what we're kind of looking to do over the next little bit, what we can do with him. He basically kind of stressed to both of us, hey, the album, it's great. The material is awesome on its own. Leave it be. Let's not worry about that. And that ended up being something that ended up kept us both kind of in good spirits after the actual meeting itself. We were both pretty stoked about that. And hopefully, that is a good sign that he's actually interested in us more than just, hey, come give me 20 grand, make a new album out of what you guys have already done. Nothing against anyone that does do that,
Nope.
but that's not kind of what we're looking for. And the one big thing with both of us is that we know what we're looking for. We have our goals very clearly aligned, and we will talk to 100 labels.
Absolutely.
Until we find one that wants to do, an idea and a plan that matches up with us.
Yeah, exactly. And what we're looking for, right? So that's such a big thing. So, start there, right? That was such a great meeting and positive thinking, right, along the entire way there. So on top of that, we did a whole bunch of stuff looking into our trademark and copywriting and all that kind of stuff as well.
Absolutely.
We got a couple things lined up for this upcoming week as well in terms of meetings, and we got a couple big meetings actually this week, and then we've got an interview this Friday.
Well, hey, relax.
We'll talk about that later on.
We'll
though.
Talk about that at the next week.
But we scheduled that last week,
Yes.
so that's why that came to mind there.
And you're forgetting to me, I think you buried the lead. You said the biggest thing was the meeting with the label out in England. I think that was awesome. I don't think that was the biggest thing that happened this week.
What was the biggest thing?
It's right here, dude.
That's a pretty big thing.
Our CD. We got 525 of the debut album, 525 copies arriving at the house on Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
To me, that's indescribably awesome. It was such a cool moment for us. We did a debut unboxing video.
We did.
Which
Go
I'm
check
super
it out
proud of.
on our Instagram or Facebook. I believe it's also on.
Yeah, I think it's on Instagram, Facebook. And yeah, it was super, super cool to actually see the album physically manifested and hold it in our hands.
Yeah.
And honestly, man, we spent a lot of time making the artwork and all that stuff look perfect in that thing. It still turned out 10 times better than I could have imagined.
Right,
The best case scenario. It is so freaking cool.
It's super, super cool. I mean, they're like Kevin said, just way better than we even imagined that they would end up being. So between the product that's inside and what it physically looks like on the outside as well, we are super stoked about it. Can't wait to get it into every single person's hands that we know. So for everybody who's listening and hasn't gotten a copy of the album, just send us a message either at dib@officialloops.com or send us a message wherever you can get a hold of us, on Instagram, on Facebook, whatever's the easiest for you. You can also buy yourself a copy through our website, officialloops.com.
Yep.
All these different ways of just getting yourself a copy of this album. We are super, super proud of it. Yeah, just
cool.
Just excited to get that out in front of as many people as possible.
Absolutely. And the other thing, just for the weekend recap, I just wanted to fact check us a little bit.
No,
it's nothing bad. But my dad sent me a message just giving me a little heads up about some background information about Wembley Stadium / Wembley Arena.
Oh,
so Dad, this section's for you. And for anybody that was curious. So we did mention last week when you talked about playing Wembley Stadium, and I told the story about December 9th and how they saw Queen play, and Freddie played Imagine. All that stuff was accurate. I got all my dates right. The only difference was that was at Wembley Indoor Arena. So I got some information here. I want to give it to everybody so they can get a little background on Wembley. So Wembley Indoor Arena was built in 1934 as a pool and sports arena. This is where they saw Queen in December 1980. It holds about 12,500 people. And then he sent me some pictures. And he also explained that Wembley Stadium was from 1923 to 2002. It was known as the Twin Towers, which I didn't know. England won the World Cup there in 1966. They played at home. And Live Aid, that was where Freddie famously had probably the best set in music history, was Queen's 15-minute, 20-minute set of Live Aid. It was unreal. And Queen, It's a Kind of Magic tour, that was in 1986 as well. So that was at Wembley Stadium. That got knocked down. Obviously, they got the new one now. It opened in 2007. That was in the movie Yesterday. That's where you want to play. That's where I want to play.
Mm-hmm.
It holds about 84,000 people. Old Wembley Stadium holds 100,000 people. But,
that's where that number came from last week.
Yeah. But my dad said the big difference is that a lot of people had to stand of those 100,000.
Yeah,
a lot of them.
Yeah.
Whereas now everybody gets to see. Everyone gets to see all 84,000. So it's just like going to the Sky Dome or something, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's apparently everything else was all good.
Cool.
And then he also threw in here how he saw Ultravox at Massey Hall in Toronto in 1983. I don't know what relevance it had, but there you go, Dad.
But we're going to talk about it this week.
There you go.
There we go.
In our week in review, I thought I would give a little fact check about something we messed up last week. So there we go.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let's get that out of the way right away.
Cool.
I think that the other thing that I got from last week is we went to Breaking Par once again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we went there on Wednesday.
We did.
It's really great. It was very last minute. We decided like an hour before.
You did, pretty much. You sent me a message being like, yo, you want to come? And I was like, well, I'm a little tied up until probably like 5-ish.
Yeah.
And then we went from 5 till 7.
We did. And it was great.
It was
awesome.
For you. It was great. I put away my driver after like hole 12 or something.
Yeah.
I hated it.
Yeah.
I was slicing everything. Well, I wasn't even slicing it. Sorry. I was shanking everything to the left.
Yeah.
Popping them up like 10 feet in front. It was weird. I don't know what was going on, but whatever. I may not even use my driver all year.
You're like, I'm not even going to golf
anymore. It's a Maverick
anymore.
Max. I paid like $700 for last year. And it's just, I don't get it. I can hit it 300 yards. My longest is 326. And then sometimes I hit it 140 yards. It's insane, my swing. But I enjoyed the rest of the round. So that was fun. Exactly. My putting was dialed in the whole time.
Oh, absolutely was. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But so anyway, shout out to Breaking Par Golf.
Absolutely. For the second straight week. But, we had a great time both times that we went. So,
absolutely.
Definitely recommend it if you're in the area.
So there we go. So let's move on. Let's keep this going. I've been really enjoying doing these. I think they're awesome. It's been just as much fun for us, I think, as anyone listening. I think we're having more fun than anybody.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep doing these for ourselves. We've gotten a good little crew of our ardent supporters, people that are listening each week, and new people are coming to me each week from the week before being like, hey, I just caught up. I just listened to all 3 apps. I really like them. So that's awesome. So if you've been listening to us, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. If you're enjoying it, spread the word. We really want to get our personalities out there. That's what the point of this is. Mm-hmm. This isn't us playing our songs for everybody and promoting our music, but if you can promote John and Kevin, that is who LooPS are. And that seems like a common sense statement. Unfortunately, though, it's not as common sense as you'd think, right? A lot of times bands hide behind the identity of the band and they don't show themselves. We want to do the opposite. We want to put our personalities and who we are first, because if you know us, you'll understand our music better. And that's a big part of who we are. So
absolutely.
Anyone that's enjoying this, please help us spread the word. If you're enjoying it, put it on your Facebook, your social medias, get it out there.
Always helps.
But we are going to try to keep it around the hour mark. I think that's a good goal.
Yeah.
Last week went a little long, but an hour 15. So if we can try to keep it around an hour, that's great. And that way it's nice and easily digestible. And,
exactly.
Drive the kid to school, pick them up at the end of the day. You can listen to the whole episode in one trip, right? Mm-hmm. So let's do, what do you want to do next? New music, or you want to do top 5s? I'll let you decide.
Let's talk about top 5s. I think last week we did music first, but I mean,
cool.
I'm ready to jump into top fives for this week.
Sounds
I think
good.
It's gonna, at least mine's gonna tie into new music as well. So
okay. So do you want me to go first then? Or do you want to go first? Okay.
Yeah. So I think that you should go first here. Yeah.
Perfect. So I will give you my top 5s. First thing I want to do before I do my own individual top 5 is we've been saying, and we haven't probably stressed it enough just because we wanted to get kind of a baseline set up for the actual podcast itself and a format and a structure. But we did set up a website. Website.
We have a website, buddy.
We do have our own website, but we set up a email address through our website.
Yeah.
DIB, which stands for obviously Diary of an Indie Band, at officialloops.com. So we have mentioned it a couple times. If you have feedback, if you have anything you want to suggest to us, anything at all, send us an email. That's how my dad, got me some information as well too. So one thing we did get already, so one of our first emails here, just as involvement though, beyond just people chatting with us and stuff, was Kelly, my cousin. She actually sent us her own top 5.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So she had talked about herself on different songs that we're mentioning and whatnot.
Cool.
So she combined new music and a top 5 to give us her DIB top 5 songs of the week.
Cool.
The week that she's been listening to.
Yeah.
So I'm going to shout out her top 5 songs. This is just her exact list. So LooPS, Parachute, and she put bracket, obviously. So thanks a lot, Kel. Daniel Duke, Only Young is the name of the song. Lee Bryce, country singer, One of Them Girls. Vance Joy, Missing Piece.
That's a great song.
Yeah, you're a Vance Joy fan.
Yeah, that's an awesome pick.
And another singer I think is fantastic, Julia Michaels, All Your Exes.
That's
so I heard that
great
one too.
artist.
Awesome.
I know Julia Michaels stuff. So
yeah, she's pretty great.
Yeah, her and JP Sachs, who's a Canadian from Toronto or Ontario or something like that. I mean, they write songs together all the time. I think that they're dating or whatever, but I mean, she's got an awesome voice.
Ooh, sweet.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah. So you got Julia Michaels, All Your Exes, Vance Joy, Missing Piece, Lee Bryce, One of Them Girls, Daniel Duke, Only Young, and LooPS, Parachute. So that won't be on the new music playlist, obviously, because that's only the ones that we suggest.
Yeah.
But thanks, Kel, for the top 5. If anyone else has a top 5 of new songs they're listening to, feel free to shoot us. We'll shout you out on the air.
Absolutely.
And keep the emails and keep the feedback coming. We'd love to get more. If another section is just feedback from people of their own top 5s, I think that'd be a fun one too.
Yeah. Absolutely. One of the things too is if you've got new music and you're an artist that's listening, looking for tips or, just enjoying the podcast or whatever it ends up being, send us your music. We love listening to new music.
Please. Honestly, not, and I'm saying please as in it's not that we need it for the material because we both actually, we like the challenge.
Weeks already.
Oh yeah. We enjoyed the challenge of finding new music to bring to the other guy and surprise him with it. So we don't need it at all, but I know I can speak for you as well. I would much rather do a song that somebody they emailed me and they sent it to DIB at officialloops.com and they said, hey guys, I love the podcast. I would love you to shout out my band. This is a song we have coming out next Friday. Da 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 da.
Absolutely.
And then we can have a story and a little more. It's more personal than us just finding something on a Spotify playlist that we both like. Right?
Oh, for sure.
So I would love it if people could do that. If you do hear this, even if you know somebody's song that's coming out, let us know about their song, and we'd love to put it on. Like I said, I put my buddy from high school, Chris Niles. It's not like we talk all the time. We're just two musicians that stayed in touch over the last bunch of years since we graduated, but that's the extent of our friendship. But I happily put 2 of his songs in my first 3 choices.
3 weeks, eh?
Right?
Yeah.
And that was because
awesome,
they were new and we had a reason to do it. But it gave me more of a story than just some random, Julia Michaels song or something.
Yeah. Absolutely. Cool. Well, all that being said, I want to hear about your top 5s, buddy.
Right. So my top 5 was, I have a whole bunch of different top 5s, as you probably already do too. I probably got 2 months worth of lists already ready to go. So I'm just finding the right time to bring them out.
Yep. This
one felt apropos because of what you did last week. So I wanted to compound off of your top 5 venues to play.
Cool.
2 of yours were festivals, so they were just kind of like locations.
I think 3 of them were.
Were they?
Yeah. Winnipeg Folk Festival.
The Winnipeg Folk Festival was 100%. Yep.
Yeah. And then
Coachella. Yeah. So I didn't put any festivals. I thought that might be its own separate list for me one time.
Okay. Yeah.
And what I actually did was I put bucket list places of physical locations, like brick and mortar, got to have walls, a roof, 5 places I would love for LooPS to play. Number 1, actually, I want to see how many of these you can now guess of my top 5.
Okay.
Just like I did last week with you. So how many can you guess?
All right, let's start with the obvious with Wembley Stadium.
Yeah, not Wembley Arena. I want to play on the dirt and ground where Wembley Arena once stood.
Yeah. So I'm going to start there. The second one I'm going to say it's going to be in New York. I think that if Saturday Night Live is an actual venue that you're saying,
no,
I don't know what you've got in the parameters there. So that's on your
so this list was actually borderline starting to become like a Kevin song list, which you pretty much mention it every week until people really get the point of the top 5s.
Yeah.
This is the point of it, is that I always have 40 songs that I say are in my top 5 favorite songs. I was having trouble narrowing it down, and that's where I was like, okay, Coachella and those kind of things too.
Yeah.
And then I was like,
but that's the thing too, is like when we're talking about these lists, it's that these are probably in our top 5, or not top 5, but like top 10, maybe top 15 for like us together as a group. But
absolutely.
It's like, how do you narrow that down?
And that's the fun of the top 5, right?
Of course it is, yeah.
And we're forcing ourselves to actually commit to a top 5.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think part of this too, not to deviate too much, but to really drive home the point of why this is fun for us. And if you guys are listening, it's fun for you guys too, in a way, because if you're watching our progress, man, if we do get even a fraction of success that we are very, very driven to achieve, it'll be fun to look back if we ever accomplish any of these. Or be like, man, I thought that was in my top 5.
And we wanted to go and play Glastonbury out in
absolutely
the UK.
Or maybe you play the Winnipeg Folk Festival, but it's way quicker than you think. And you're like, you know what? It wasn't as exciting as I thought it would be. Or it ended up feeling like just another gig. Yeah. Maybe you talk about that on another podcast, right? So anyways, that's why it's kind of fun for us too. So I was trying to narrow it down. SNL was 100% on the list when I first was making it.
Yeah.
But then I started being like, okay, if SNL's on there, I don't want to give away too much of another list, but you know this anyways, how obvious this is. I was like, if SNL's on there, I always go hand in hand with a bucket list in general of things I want to accomplish for LooPS. And on that list, it's always play SNL, play the Super Bowl. And I know that sounds mental to anyone listening, but that's how big we dream. Yeah. And if we don't dream that big, no one else is going to do it for us. So SNL, Super Bowl, those are both hand in hand. I would, if I had to pick one or the other, and they're like, you can play SNL this weekend or the Super Bowl. Honestly, I want to play SNL so bad. I don't know if I wouldn't. Yeah. I mean, I probably would say, well, we're big enough to play the Super Bowl. We can play SNL next year. Like, I'd probably be smart about it, or you would slap some sense into me and be like, don't be stupid. Yeah. But yeah, so then once I started getting to the minutia of that, I was like, are those really venues? And then I decided, like I said, just to stick to 5 to brick and mortar physical locations, not the SNL stage, not a Super Bowl stage, but those are obviously good for you for guessing that.
Well, I mean, that's good to know. That's good to know, because I knew that it was going to be something in New York. At least I'm hoping that it is, because if MSG isn't on there,
it's MSG.
MSG, okay, good. I'm happy that that's in that top 5, which Madison Square Garden, for those who don't know, out in New York, was on my top 5 last week.
And I guessed it as well.
So 1 and 2, they might not be in that order for you, because things might change, and you don't have to think about the order. I can see you turning the wheels in your eyes right now. No, don't even think about that. Otherwise, this is going to be a 2-hour podcast.
Exactly. Yes, as we always say, no particular order. Yeah. I think Wembley is number 1, just because even as simple as like yesterday, I remember showing you yesterday. Yeah. The weekend that we built, like the week that we actually made LooPS, we watched it on that road trip that we talk about, that we went down to the Lower Mainland. Yeah. And I showed you yesterday, and you were like, love at first sight with a movie. You're like, oh my God.
It was like 2 days after we watched Inside Llewyn Davis. Yeah. And then we had ridden that on
I think it was Monday. Before, because we watched 100%. Actually, I normally I'm good with the memories of just random stuff. Yeah. You're good with dates. So I'll correct you, and just that it was before we watched Inside Llewyn Davis, because the next morning is when you wrote That Won't Do. Yeah. So LooPS was already made at that point. That was when we got home.
Yeah, you're right.
And I only know this for a fact because I remember I used my Google Play, which is now called YouTube. So Uplay. So the YouTube Music Google Play account at the time, I went and I bought yesterday so we could watch it when we were down at that Airbnb. Yeah. So that was the week that we built LooPS, and we called it LooPS. We came up with the name for the band on the drive home back to Kamloops, and
which by the way, I'm super stoked that we didn't call it Loop, because we were so
I was like, hey, what if we call ourselves Loop? Yeah, and you're like,
you said that
because we use loop pedals.
You said that first, and then like it was like 10 minutes of like silence in the car, and then I'm like, what if we call ourselves LooPS with an S at the end?
Well, because the thing is that, just for anyone that's ever theorized or thought like we call ourselves LooPS because we both live in Kamloops. Yeah. No offense to this beautiful town that produced my son. Mm-hmm. My son was born here. We both live in Kamloops.
Where we met.
It's where we met each other. We became best buds, where we lived for 2.5 years of the band until you're moving out with Alina soon. Mm-hmm. Kamloops has given us a lot. Yeah. It had nothing to do with our band name. And not at all. If that story, if anything ever seals the deal, it's that intimate story that no one knows until you just told it, which is on the drive home. Yeah. For about 20 minutes, we were like, okay, cool. And Loop, that sounds kind of cool. And we were both, it's just, you were like,
we were right between Hope and Mary, man.
We were. Yeah. We 100% were. Back, 100%. We had just turned off of the Hope exit to get onto Coquihalla. Yeah. And, it was originally for about 20 minutes there, we were just called Loop, because we were called Loop because the infinity logo was key. Yeah. It represented the two of us being equal. Yep. So that's a loop. It's an infinite loop.
Which I think that we thought of that like before we even thought of the band name. We wanted something to incorporate
that represents us being equal.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
So the infinity symbol, and you were the one creative enough just to be like, it was right there. But you're like, yeah, this is a perfect, when we make the logo, we'll make the O's into an infinity. Yeah. And the fact that we used back then, we didn't have the material we have now. Yeah. I'm happy with using the loop pedal as much as we do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud that we don't lean on it though. Like we were very dependent on the loop pedal at the start. I think we've grown as artists and we've gotten stronger in our material and our presentation, and we're not just let's just impress them with, you know, the magic trick of doing a loop pedal on every song. We probably use it too much at the beginning as like a crutch, right? And I love the loop pedal, and I don't think we'll ever leave our show.
Part of it too is we were doing 4-hour shows. So when you're doing 4-hour shows, yes, we can do the same thing for,
and they're all covers. We didn't have
4 hours, but I mean, you're gonna lose the crowd at some point. So it had to be something different.
Well, we didn't have 12, 13 originals to throw in.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? We didn't have all the stories we tell.
Yeah.
Right. So it was just music nonstop. So we needed something to keep that energy, and we use a loop pedal.
Yeah.
So that's where Loop came from, is, hey, we use a loop pedal. Let's call ourselves Loop.
Yeah.
So anyways, we were called LooPS. That's the origin of that story. So cutting back to the top 5, we got Wembley Stadium, MSG. They're both correct. You want to take a stab at the last 3? Because it helps me come up with my list because I don't have to explain them.
I would put Rogers Center in there.
It's in.
Yeah,
absolutely. Skydome.
I think that's because that's your hometown, right? It's close enough. Close enough to hometown.
2 hours away. I've watched some of my favorite sporting moments at the Skydome in person, let alone actually. I just remember this today when I was coming up with my list. I can't remember if it was my buddy. I talked about them last week, but 2 of my oldest friends, Dustin Hawkins and Rob Grow. Maybe one of you guys, when you hear this pod, you can send me a message and let me know which one of you came with me. But one of them was with me watching a Blue Jays game the day Wayne Gretzky played his very last game.
Oh, really?
And they showed, if you came to the game early, they showed the game on the big center field
really?
Jumbotron.
Oh, that's
you got we all watched the Wayne Gretzky final game on the Jumbotron. So I remember them singing like nobody does it better. And that song was playing and Wayne was doing like 10 minutes straight of like a standing ovation waving to the crowd. And we watched that.
That's awesome.
Skydome. So for me to play at Skydome would be would be number 2. To be honest. Just because it would be such a cool big deal for me.
Yeah.
So you got 3 so far. There's 2 left.
Well, I think that you got 3 off of mine last week.
I did get 3.
Yeah. The other 2, I don't want to spend too much time thinking about it, but
hey, that's okay. If they're not on the top of your head, they're both pretty obvious.
I'm not 100% sure. Like, I mean, I don't know.
Cool. Yeah. So I'll give you the last 2. London Gardens. Well, it's not called the London Gardens now, I guess. It's called the Budweiser Gardens. And in London, Ontario, where I grew up, we had an arena called the London Gardens, and it was near where my high school actually ironically was, but it was on the south side of town, just south of the 401, the big highway that cuts through Ontario. And I saw so many events at the London Gardens. It was awesome. That's where the London Knights, one of the probably the greatest junior hockey team of all time. That's where our London Knights played. And in the late 90s, they didn't actually tear it down. It's still there even now.
Oh, cool. Yep.
But they ended up switching to a downtown location. They called it the Ice House. And it was the Ice House for a bunch of years. And then I think since I moved away, and now it's called Budweiser Gardens. If I'm wrong, somebody that I know and love that lives in London that listens to the podcast, let me know. I'll correct it next week.
Yeah.
Budweiser Gardens.
Cool.
I think they call it Budweiser Gardens as a tribute to London Gardens.
Right.
I would love to play that. I would love to go home in my hometown and play an event at the big stadium. It seats like 10,000 people, but just to be there, I've seen a whole bunch of hockey games there. I've seen some wrestling events there. It's always been awesome. That would be the same as you playing the Winnipeg Folk Festival.
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%.
And the last one is, it ties together with my RCMP. So Kamloops.
Regina.
No, not even Regina. No, that'd be cool though. Kamloops, I came here in 2009. I left my whole family behind. And that first year I was hungry. I just wanted to work as much overtime as possible. And I worked probably, I don't even know, from April 2009 until the end of the year. In that calendar year, maybe close to a dozen concerts at the Interior Savings Center.
Right.
The actual arena, same as the London Gardens, as the junior hockey Kamloops Blazers arena.
Right.
Seats only about 5,000 people because unfortunately, no offense to Kamloops, but they're not quite the London Knights. So they don't draw the same amount of fans.
Yeah.
And, but it's a really nice arena. And I worked a lot. Like I worked a lot of ZZ Top, Alan Jackson. Like I worked everyone, Big and Rich. And more importantly than that, and John, you know this story, I believe, but in September 2011, I worked in overtime, and that's where I met Sebastian's mom. So I'm not with her anymore. I
actually didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm not with her anymore, but we were together for a number of years, and I loved her very much. And that was Sebastian's mom, and I met her there. So that matters mostly because I have Sebastian, I have my son, because I worked in overtime at that location. So that was at a Big and Rich concert. The Cowboy guys, save a horse, ride a cowboy. Do you know that song?
Yeah. Yeah, I know this song.
You don't know country music very much, man.
Yeah, I know that one though.
All right. So Big and Rich concert, met Courtney. Seb exists now because of that.
Yeah.
So that because of that alone, because my son literally exists because I worked in overtime at a music concert there.
Yeah.
Honestly, it might be close. It might even push out Wembley Stadium as sentimental.
Oh, okay.
Wembley Stadium to me is bigger and harder to achieve. So that's an aggressive goal that I want to hit, and we both want it.
Yeah.
But for sentimental, like I probably might be the most emotional playing that Kamloops stage, which is the most realistic of the 5 to hit, realistically. So
yeah, that one in London.
Yeah, London, Ontario. Exactly.
I mean, I don't know that venue as well, but
exactly. But yeah, playing the Interior Savings Center here in Kamloops would be definitely round out my top 5. So
I like
those are my 5. I lock them in.
That's cool.
Put a lock on it and bury it.
Just so I know, because I think it's a different name now. Interior Savings is the Sandman Center.
Yes, you're right. It is called Sandman Center.
Sandman Center.
I apologize. Yes,
that's okay. I'm just double checking.
100%.
I only got here in like 2017 or something
it probably
like
was
that,
already
right?
switched then. Yeah.
Yeah. So it
was always called the Interior Saving Center for the Interior Saving Bank. They
which makes sense. Yeah.
There's an actual Sandman Hotel. You're right. Now it's across the street. They obviously bought the naming rights to the arena, and they might even own the arena for all I know. But that would be a big one for me. So
I like
those are my top 5. Let's hear your top 5, buddy.
I like those top 5s, man. Cool. Yeah, my top 5 this week is a little bit different. What I'm thinking of this week for my top 5 is what I look for in a good song.
Ooh,
so you know
this
what?
Is really cool.
When I think about like a great song that like, that's the thing. It's like there's so many great songs from so many different genres. How do you compare, a great country artist like Darius Rucker to Ed Sheeran or Sam Smith or whoever else,
Usher and R&B
exactly
whoever.
There's so many different ways of thinking about it, so many different ways of thinking about a good song. So I had to think a long time about this.
I like this a lot,
about what I think about when I listen to a good song that hits me.
Okay,
so what I'm trying to define, I'm not going to define every single word that I'm saying, but when I say when it hits me, but I'm talking about something that makes me feel something.
Yeah.
So that brings up the first point which is creativity.
Okay.
Right? Is this a song that I feel like I've already heard before? So if that's the case, I'm not going to feel as connected to that song because I'll be like, this reminds me of another song.
Absolutely.
I'm going to spend 20 minutes looking for that song.
Yeah.
If there's a song that reminds me like almost word for word or, note for note to Wonderwall, then I'm going to be like, why can't I remember what that song is? And it's Wonderwall.
Exactly.
Right? You know what I mean? So
absolutely, I do.
That's one of the first things that I look for is the creativity.
Okay.
Right? Another thing is obviously the lyrics. What do the lyrics mean? Are they important? Do they hit me at all?
And which is cool. I like you saying that as a number 2, even if it's not the exact order.
Yep.
But just I like that it came off your head early because you and I have had some pretty cool talks about
absolutely
so without putting anyone on blast because we never ever will. But like people we know even that are like they bring out a song and we're like, man, this song has so much potential. But honestly, I got 3/4 of the way through 4 verses and I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Like, what is this song about?
Yeah.
Like, it's got a cool hook and it's got a great melody and it makes me bob my head. But when I listen to the lyrics, like it's not making sense.
Yeah.
And that it's so overrated. Like,
well, I think
underrated.
It's underrated.
Like, yes,
the lyrics are definitely probably the most underrated part of the entire thing. Right? You can write a great beat. You can write whatever you want to it. You can write a song about a horse and a girl drinking a beer, and you'll be like Keith Urban, or like you're gonna be like a million different artists or something.
There's
like
a song by
it has to make sense.
Kim
the
Mitchell.
Story has to make sense.
Kim Mitchell, a great Canadian artist. A lot of people might have you heard of Kim Mitchell before?
I haven't. No.
So you've heard of this song though that Kim Mitchell made called Patio Lanterns.
Oh,
you heard that song?
Yeah.
It's the melody. Yeah. So he wrote an entire song about patio lanterns, and it was a big hit. And it was just a silly song about just sitting outside and relaxing, having drinks, and looking at the patio lanterns and enjoying life. But you can, to your point, you can write a song about anything.
Yeah.
If the lyrical content makes sense though, and it conveys the message properly, that's the key.
Yeah.
Love it.
So far we've got the creativity, we've got the lyrics. The next thing is the melody. The melody has to be somewhat catchy. It's got to make sense. And that doesn't mean that it can't be complex, but for me, who's somebody who focuses so much on the instrumentals, right? It's part of our songwriting dynamic, right? Where,
Absolutely.
you know, like I really like exploring and seeing what's going on behind the scenes, right? I want to get into every single little detail of every single instrument that's being played, right? Whereas like I know that you love focusing on the lyrics and understanding the message, right? Yeah. Which is why you went into all that kind of stuff. but for me, the melody has to make sense, Absolutely. Right? So it might not connect right away for my ear, right? So maybe it's the second time that I hear it, right? Like I think that's how we wrote Parachute. 100%. The first time that I heard like you sing like the chorus, I think to Parachute, I'm like, I don't really like it. But then it was like, it's not that I don't like it, but like I just have to understand where it's going. Yep. And for an incomplete song, you have to think about what's coming next. Absolutely. Right? So that's where my mind goes in that kind of situation. So that's the melody. The next thing is the beat. The beat, always important. Even with a slow song, I think that it's important. We can think about like a song of ours that's going to be coming out February 25th called Let Me. Let Me's got a cool, or One More Story, which for those of you who've been with us since day one, One More Story was on Spotify for a long time.
That was one of the OG LooPS songs.
Thinking about, you know, the beat in that song, it's not like a straightforward beat all the way through where, you know, you can like snap your fingers along or whatever you want to do. But the beat is still there and it makes sense.
It's funny.
You have to think about the beat in relation to the melody.
It's kind of cool watching you explain this, and I'll give you, this is a total shout out to you and your music ability. When I'm thinking like beat myself, as kind of almost when it comes to instrumentals as a layperson compared to you, just because you have a lifetime of just classical music training, and that's your forte. With me, like I came from like an R&B background, so all I'm thinking is just like bass or drums. Yeah. But it's cool because the two examples you just cited, I just want to point this out to anyone else that's listening to this right now, and they're like, "Let Me," and what? One More Story? Like those are like piano songs. They don't have a beat. No, they do. Yeah. John's just, his brain works at such a meta level. Like for real, I want to give you props on this. Like when he's on the piano, he's playing the beat and the melody at the same time. Like he's carrying the melody of the song with the higher notes. He's still covering the beat with those lower chords and the lower notes on the piano. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of what you're meaning. I think your average person would hear that, and they just assume nowadays with how watered down music has become, beat just means a drum track or maybe a bass line.
And that's what I wanted to make clear as well, right? Like when I'm talking about the beat, I'm not talking about, you know, this is the sick drum track that's going on top of this song, right? And all that kind of stuff, which, you know what, I love that stuff as well. And I love hearing what's going on in those. And that's where in some of our songs that you're going to hear on the album are, you know, they don't sound like your typical beats. Like a 4/4 beat for drummers or whoever is out there who are, you know, so nitpicky about those kind of things. Yeah. That's not what I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on the extracurricular stuff that's kind of going on as well. So
absolutely.
Anyway, that was number 4. That was the beat. The last thing, which I'm not sure if you're gonna get this, before I like say what it is, but like if you were to guess what it would be, I don't know if you would know what the last thing that I think about before, like I think about a good song.
We've talked about the emotion of it.
No. No, because
the emotion it brings out?
I personally tied that into
the total package of what it conveys.
The total package,
okay, cool.
Right?
I figured as much.
Yeah, that's kind of everything.
Honestly, it may seem silly. If I were to do a top 5, I would cover those 4 as well. For me, and I think yours might be the same. If I had to guess, gun to my head, I'd probably say, as silly as it almost seems, it matters. Song title.
Oh, cool. No, it's not.
You're like,
no, not at all. No, song title, I mean, for me, I mean, that ties it into, I think that it's super, super important. I just don't know if that cracks the top 5.
Hey, that's okay. No, that's okay. That's why I wanted to specify too. Like, that would be also
but it's
mine.
Cool because, I mean, that's bringing out something that I wasn't really thinking about, right?
Because I think sometimes people are lazy on song titles. So to me, I like a good song title. I honestly do.
Absolutely.
I want, and you know the thought I put into our song titles.
Yeah.
I could confidently say I've came up with most of them only just because it's that important to me. Like, and that's just because you're just like, hey, cool.
Well, and also
you've never once disagreed because you're like,
and it also
matters to me more than you, right?
The lyrics, right? Like you write 90% of the lyrics for our songs, right? So it just ties into that as well, right? Where it's like in your mind, this is what makes sense in the story. This is what should be brought out.
Well, and something big with both of us as well, and this is important to kind of establish for everyone to get to know us even better, because that's the point of this podcast, is with the two of us, like we've always made a rule, and we've sometimes reminded the other person, hey man, this isn't a hill I'm going to die on. Mm-hmm. So we have that as a core. If there's a core values for LooPS, if there's a backbone of LooPS, it's that we both know if the other guy is feeling that passionate about something, he's going to put his foot down.
Yep.
Respect it. Yep. Like, and we've said, I literally, we were talking about a plan. We won't discuss it now, but we were talking about a plan earlier today, just this afternoon, not long before this podcast, where I was like, hey, this is something I think we should put into this business plan that we're setting to the label. If you want to put your foot down on it though, like if you want to veto, excuse me, sorry, you have that veto.
Now's the time.
Yeah. And we do that all the time. So
absolutely.
And it goes to my point. It goes to song titles. That's something that's important to me. I think I have really good instincts for them. I like the names of all of our songs, dude. Even Tonight, that like Coast to Coast was originally Tonight, and it morphed into Coast to Coast because I kind of felt that was a good, and it's just
more fitting.
If you look at Loose Hinges, your original debut, your EP, it's Tonight Coast to Coast.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was Coast to Coast only entered your mind when we started playing together.
Yeah, exactly.
It was always Tonight, right?
Yeah.
So that's just, to me, it would be song title. But for you, what is yours?
The last thing that I truly think about before listening and understanding like a great song is about, I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but the extracurriculars that are going on. So the strings, the horns, all that kind of stuff.
The instrumentals.
And it ties back into the emotion of the song.
Gotcha.
Right? Like if we, played One More Story just as piano and the vocals, right? And then we did the exact same thing with strings, it would feel like a completely different song. Would. Right? So
case in point is the other example you just brought up for beats.
Absolutely.
I think if it was just piano, like One More Story was, because One More Story we're so proud of, and we'll tell you more about this when the album gets closer, but it might be both of our favorite, proudest accomplishment in the studio, because we did it in one take. It was already done, and we redid it on that last session.
We did.
It's just me, you, piano. We moved the piano beside the vocal booth so we could look at each other while we were playing and just kind of get that. We didn't even, I don't think I made eye contact with you once, but you were there. It felt like we were playing together live.
Yeah. You didn't have to worry about when the piano was coming in, because you knew that I was going off.
And just knowing you're there without looking, we just have that vibe, that sync.
Yep.
But Let Me is the strings come in and it's so full, and man, is it awesome, and it hits you in the gut, and it's freaking wicked. It's so cool. So I couldn't agree more.
So I mean, that rounds up my top 5. I mean, just to summarize, that's creativity of the song, lyrics of the song, the melody, the beat, the extra instruments, as in the strings, the horn, what else is going on in that song to make it that song. Because like we've discussed so many times, how many of these songs started off with just a guy playing a guitar, or a guy sitting down at the piano, or a girl sitting down at the piano, and then it's like pouring out their heart and soul, and then this is how the song came to be.
Absolutely.
Right? So I mean, like, you can even think of like the more upbeat songs, and they follow that same structure. You listen to the lyrics, and it's like somebody cared about these lyrics, that they were like, I need to take a minute to properly write these down and to get them to where they are right now.
Well, and truthfully, I think, I don't want this to turn into the us ripping new music pod, because it's not. But honestly, like, I think I wear it as a badge of pride, the fact that we're a throwback. Let's just call it the way it is. We're a throwback, and we're mixing modern music knowledge and sentimentalities with a vintage feel, right? If I had to sum up LooPS onto a postcard and say like what we are, it's that, right? It's modern music with a vintage feel.
Yeah.
And the vintage feel is, our music matters for something. Our lyrics and all that stuff matters. And a lot of the stuff that's done nowadays, it's lazy. They put the effort into some of the things you covered. They put the effort into the beat. They put the effort into an awesome melody, maybe a catchy hook, and that's it.
Yeah.
Right? They're not putting the effort into the lyrical content. And maybe that's just because I'm really driven on lyrics.
Absolutely. But I mean, like, it ties into all those other things as well. And not like I'm playing the role of, like me as like a label or somebody like that of importance who can say, this is what needs to go into a good song. This is just what I find.
Exactly.
Right. So
cool. I love it, dude.
Wraps up our top 5s.
There we go. So if you want to shoot us your top 5s, we will happily have you shoot us top fives about our top fives, I think that would be super cool. I would love to read on the air, like we're on the radio.
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning on 92.3. But I would love it on our podcast if we could let people give some feedback on what other people's top fives are.
Yeah.
Kelly, thank you for starting that, opening the floodgates.
Yeah.
Shoot us your top fives. DIB@officialloops.com. Let us know your top fives of anything random if you want. If you want to just shoot us a random top five, that's cool. That would actually be awesome because it fits the spirit of the top fives.
Absolutely does.
But if you want to give us your feedback on what your top fives would be, say what the top 5 locations you would love Loops to play.
Absolutely.
What would make you the proudest if you're one of our supporters? What would make you really be like, you know what? I'm proud of those boys. They did it because they played, I don't know, Tokyo Dome, right? Or they played freaking some, LA Coliseum, like whatever. What would make you proud?
Yeah.
Or, what are your top 5 things you look for in a song? I would love to actually know that. That would be really cool to hear from other people. Yeah. That helps us when we make songs.
Absolutely does.
Cool. All right. New music. You talked about songs that you like. So I'm going to take the lead on this and throw it to you. So give me, now that we know what you're looking for, give me the song that you found that checked all 5 of those boxes this week.
All right, cool. So the one that I picked this week was by an artist called Michael Girgis. Last name is spelled Girgis. The song that I picked was called One Touch, off of his album that, it's not actually an album, it's his EP.
All right, I love it. So he's indie? EP, I mean, I haven't heard a superstar signed to Warner have an EP, right? So, which is fine.
Yeah. No, he's totally indie. He's got less than 5,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. He's got about 5,000 followers, 5602 on Instagram. We'll share this right now. His Instagram handle is Michael Girgis Music, all one word. Michael, spelled just like you think. Girgis, once again, that's Girgis Music, MUSIC.
Okay. Just in case you spelled it with a K.
Just in case you spelled it with a K or something like that. It's with a C at the end.
Good.
All one word. Go check him out. Yeah, he's got some cool stuff. I'm not quite sure how old he is. He looks like he's in his 20s.
Cool.
Couldn't find too much information about him.
On this podcast, age does not matter.
Not at all. So this is One Touch by Michael Girgis.
All right, let's hear it.
Am I still dreaming when I come and pull you closely? I'm never feeling lonely. That's when I feel it. Oh yeah, I need it. Just one touch is all I need. That you. Oh yeah. One touch is all I need to feel loved by you. Oh yeah. Oh, when you hold me, everything's right, girl. I can't control myself. These feelings are more than divine. I just had to let you know that one touch is all I need to feel loved by you. Oh yeah. Summer nights down by the ocean in the moonlight, baby glowing, sneaking kisses on your cheek, and you can't take your hands off of me. Everything just feels so right.
Oh.
So won't you come and pull
I didn't want you to stop.
No, I know. Hey, yeah. How good is that though? Hey,
that was unreal. So why don't you describe how I was reacting?
Oh, dude, you were jumping around like a little kid.
I was bobbing.
No, you absolutely were. You pulled out the headphone jack here.
And then, I did. I pulled out the headphone jack. It's all messed up still, so I can't really hear myself yet.
That's all right. I'm fixing it.
It was, man, what?
Yeah. So,
I loved that.
So he's got less than 5,000 followers on.
He needs on 5 million.
It's insane. So he produces everything. It's him and then his 2 buddies are the guys who do all the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
So none of them, from what I could look at, had more than 6,000 followers.
Sick.
Of the 3 dudes.
This guy's got to get signed.
It's crazy.
I mean, I've loved the stuff we've done so far, obviously. So I'm not putting it like in a different class. I've loved everything we've picked so far, but oh man, that was fun.
Isn't that crazy?
This is my guy now. I want to meet this guy. I want to send him a message, be like, yo, Loops, we got your back. Yeah. Let's get this guy out into the mainstream. It was so creative, man. Like it's
awesome.
It reminded me of so this is where my head, it's not going to sound the same artistically, but Mike Posner recorded his first album, So Cooler Than Me. He wrote that about like a girl at university, and he recorded that in his dorm room.
He did.
So you know that. A lot of our listeners won't know that.
Yeah.
And if you don't know the song we're talking, if I could write you a song and make you fall in love, then you already know that you're cooler than me. So anyways, that whole song.
Yeah.
So anyways, he did that, and that I have that same kind of feel from these guys.
Right?
Like just that we're making like pop hits.
Yeah, I know.
At an indie level. Like that's very hard to do. We're not even doing that. And our ambition is to make like plus. Like if we have our whims and ways, we will make Ed Sheeran type albums.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't done that yet. We made more of a, Ed Sheeran's EPs before he makes plus, guitar but we want to popify it even more if we can a little bit. This guy's making the full production of a pop album by himself.
Yeah.
Man, I'm blown away.
Yeah.
I'm blown away. Man, I was popping when he did that little drop and that little,
I know.
I love that.
Cool.
I love breakdowns.
Oh,
I love
do.
breakdowns.
Yeah. No, it's like I was so stoked when I found him yesterday because I'm like, this sounds like a legit like signed artist.
It's not even that. You knew for a fact. I know this for a fact. At some point, it must have entered your head. You're like, Kevin's gonna fucking love.
Oh,
this
I
song.
did 100%. I was like, he's gonna lose it, and I don't know how he's gonna react.
Oh, dude, I was bopping. I know. Knocked out. Yeah, I love that.
It was great. It was a great tune.
I mean, choked you didn't go the whole way. I wanted to hear the whole thing. I wanted to hear the whole thing.
I know. Well, you're gonna have to download it. Add him to your Spotify list. Go give him a follow, and then he's gonna get a whole bunch of random people from Canada who start following him.
Tell him LooPS sent you. So seriously, for real,
Exactly,
send him a message. Say, hey, LooPS sent me, or go on his most recent post. Comment, say, LooPS sent me, Diary of an Indie Band. They shouted you out. Please do that. It takes 2 seconds, but that way they know that, hey, we've reached out and contacted people, but that way they know that it's actually working.
Yeah.
I think that guy is wicked. I'm totally dialed in.
Hey?
Man, that's so cool, dude.
Awesome.
Way to go.
Yeah,
that was freaking awesome.
Well, I want to hear what you've got, man. I want to hear what you've brought to the table this week.
Okay. So my choice, I told you, he's kind of like quirky and eccentric and
I like it.
Just a funny kind of cool dude. The actual band name is this guy. He calls himself Mouth Breather.
Nice. Yeah.
I like it. Say it without laughing.
I like it.
And he knows this. And this is his handle on Instagram is @themouthgod. Nothing complicated to that. I don't even need to spell it out. It's exactly what you can hear the words.
Exactly like you're imagining.
God, yeah, by Mouth Breather.
All right.
And the song is called Allison.
Oh, okay.
It's a new song, just came out. He has similar. He's got 8,000 monthly listeners on Spotify.
Sweet.
He's new. He's raw. He lives his gimmick, man. He seems like a pretty funny guy. Like he's the kind of guy I want to go have a beer with. Like he seems super freaking cool. I love that he's just like, I'm going to make this cool, weird gimmick about my whole songs and all that being about my mouth.
I'm going to lean into it,
I'm going to lean into it. I'm going to own it. It's going to be so much fun. And I feel the vibe and I feel the authenticity of it. And yeah, fuck it, man. Music is all about owning yourself. So this guy is the king of that, I think. So Allison, Mouth Breather. Hope you like it.
All right.
Allison, you're like a needle in the hay. You make it oh so hard to find out what you're gonna do today. Allison, I think you might have come undone as you tell me the most certain things, the barrel of a gun. I won't ask questions, I don't got none, but just look around at everything you've done. Allison, I know the grass is drying out. There's 100,000 stupid things you have to think about. Allison, I wanna take your pain away, but I realize how meaningless it is for me to say.
Sweet, dude.
Right?
That's cool.
It's super cool, man. I really like this
Got
guy.
a cool vibe to him. Yeah, I'm digging it.
He's got an awesome vibe to him.
Yeah. Mouth Breather, hey? That's the name of his band.
That is his name of his brand. I was like, are you calling me a mouth breather, man?
Yeah. No, not at all.
Yeah, that's the name of his band. He's super cool. At the Mouth God. His other songs are just as cool, and like it's just a chill vibe.
Sweet.
I like him a lot, man. I think he's super cool. He's funny, and like his Spotify write up. I think everyone's gonna. Yeah, he's a funny guy.
My guy, Michael Girgis. His Spotify write up is, "Hey, it's Michael."
Wow,
that's it. That's literally
the coolest dude.
That's it.
He's so cool. He's like, I don't give a shit. I'm not putting in any effort because I am awesome.
Yeah.
I really respect that, man. This guy is a fan of me. He'd be like, fuck music. I'd be like, yes.
It's like, that guy knows what's
agree with him. Yeah, that guy is just an alpha. I love it.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah, no, Mouth Breather put a little more effort into his, and he wrote up a whole big write-up, and it's funny, and he's a funny dude, man.
I like it.
It may not be everyone's sense of humor. It's mine. I like it. He hit a homer with me. He's dialed in. He's got a fan. So
nice.
There you go. So those are our two new musics. We have Michael Girgis, and the name of the song was
One Touch.
One Touch. That's your song.
That's your guy.
And then we have Mouth Breather, and the name of the song is Allison. We're going to put links, as we always do, on our Spotify and also in our Instagram post this week about our new music songs and highlighting the actual podcast. We will also put their Instagram handles on the Instagram. So please go give them a follow. If you enjoy their stuff, like we said, go to their most recent post and comment, hey, LooPS sent me here from Diary of an Indie Band.
Absolutely.
I think that'd be super cool. That way they know we're trying to help them out.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, we're getting to the end of the week here.
We are. So let's do our wrap up. Yeah. This won't be too long, just because we're at about the 1 hour mark now. So hope you guys have enjoyed the show. Definitely the big theme of this week as well is just involvement, interactions. It's been awesome getting the feedback from everybody. This has been so much fun, and it's even more fun because people are enjoying it. Yeah. I think I would have had 90% of the amount of fun I've had so far, just us recording into two mics and nobody listening except for us. It's better when people are like giving us feedback on what they think and what they're hearing and what they're enjoying about the shows. So keep it coming, guys. digib@officialloops.com. Let us know what you're thinking of stuff. Give us your top fives. If you're finding new music that you want us to pick as one of our choices, cool. That's okay too.
Absolutely.
You can also message Kevin at officialloops.com or John, Jon, at officialloops.com.
Yeah.
You can message us privately if you don't want us to tell the other person. That would be fun too. Like it will help our choices. So we don't mind being like, hey, this week is on behalf of so-and-so who recommended me this song and I loved it. So our upcoming goals for next week, John, what do you want to talk about?
I mean, I feel like I say it every week, but I mean, Mondays, Tuesdays are kind of my day to send off as many emails. I got a couple that I got to get back to from next week about potential gigs in the future. And also this place called Home Roots. Home Roots is a great kind of it's like home tours where you play like house concerts. So if you're an upcoming artist, reach out to them because I'm sure that they'll be able to help something out. I think.
Well, let's we don't want to get anyone's hopes up. So
reach out.
You can reach out for sure
because
but just to be honest,
just like everything else.
Yes, just like anything else, there's no harm in trying to reach out. But the thing about Home Roots though is, from what we've been told, you have to have kind of it's like a referral basis kind of thing. So just so nobody feels like, oh, LooPS told me to do this. We want to give authentic advice that is helpful. If you reach out to Home Roots, there's a very good chance they're not going to get back to you. And that's not a slight or anything. It's just their business model. And from what we were told, even we needed kind of a recommendation. So thankfully we were lucky enough. We built a connection and our producer has done work with Home Roots himself. He sent a personal email. If we just reached out ourselves too, I mean, we would have gotten
lost in
a shuffle of thousands of people that want to play these home shows. These are actual like high end shows that are already they get a whole tour for you, and you'll go to Saskatchewan for a month, and they'll just give you 20 shows, and you'll just play them, and they'll put you up in hotels, and that's kind of how they operate.
Yeah,
it's fantastic if you get your foot in the door, but just we don't want anyone to
play as much as possible is some advice that we've always been given. So that's some advice that we can always pass on. Try and reach out to every single person that you know about getting in and playing any gig, any venue, anything.
Absolutely.
That'll help, create that fan base behind you.
Yep.
What else do I got going on? I mean, we've always got stuff going on. We're doing more of the same as well. I'm looking forward to our interview on Friday.
Yes.
I got a couple.
Do you want to talk about that a little more in detail now? That we're at the end of the show?
No, I think we'll talk about it next week.
We'll talk about it next week.
About next week when we got a bit of time
After it's already happened then?
Yeah.
Cool. So we do have an interview coming up, and it will already be done by the time you hear our next episode.
Yeah.
So we'll let you know about that. That's a local interview that does this little sort of series. So we're going to play a couple songs, and we're going to do that interview. That will be fun.
Streamed on Shaw.
Exactly.
TV.
Checking Out's coming on Friday, as we already mentioned at the start of the app. So please go pre-follow that song so it's ready to hit your playlist. We also are one thing I'm going to be doing this week is I'm getting out all of the CDs that people pre-purchased out to everybody. So if you purchased a CD through Indiegogo, or if you've purchased it since then, I'm going to be sending it out and mailing it, not with the E, minus the E.
Real mail.
Just regular snail mail. I'll be mailing it out to you. You will get it in the next few weeks, obviously dependent on Canada Post, but we're going to be sending it from Kamloops here this week. By the time the next podcast hits, I'll have sent out, 60, I think, ish CDs.
We got a list.
There's a whole list of them. So thank you so much. If those is something that you're looking forward to, they're coming. They're on their way. And if you are interested, the final thing, just before I forget, I have it as a note here to mention before the show's over. If you are interested, again, John mentioned this earlier, if you're interested in purchasing a copy of the CD yourself, I know CDs are kind of out of style now. That's okay. The digital version is coming on all streaming services February 25th. Until then, get yourself a copy of the actual physical CD. You can listen to it in your car. You can listen to it can't listen to PlayStations, but you can listen to your Xbox. If you got an Xbox, if you got a DVD player, you could chuck it in that, a Blu-ray player. Any CD player will play it. But honestly, like I've told you this before, John, Justin Azuka, an unknown Canadian artist. Most people don't know who he is. He's one of my all-time favorites. As we were designing this album, I heavily modeled our album after just the feel of Justin Azuka's Holly album, one of my all-time favorites. My brother, Martin, got it signed for me 10 years ago at a concert of his. And, it says, to Kevin, thanks for the support,
right,
Justin. And it's signed. I mean, if that's all it is, I've never played that physical CD. I've listened to Holly 1,000 times on Spotify or any other streaming service, but the actual physical CD, it just sits on my bookshelf. Right. So if that's all the LooPS CD does for you, that's okay. I mean, there's only 500 that were made of this first run. You can be one of the first people to have one. So if you are interested in that, shoot us an email, DIB at officialloops.com. So you might as well know it's coming through the actual podcast. Or you can find it, like John said, on our webpage. If there isn't a link already, we'll have it by the time the next podcast drops. We'll have the actual physical link up so you can buy it on square.com.
Perfect.
There we go. I think that summed it up. That was my little sales pitch at the end.
There you go.
But, as we always say, if you're enjoying what you are hearing and you listen to us to this point, please make sure you subscribe, follow, do all that fun stuff on the socials, on Spotify, on iTunes, wherever you're listening. And the best way you can help us, as we've always said, share it with your friends. If you're enjoying this podcast, we've made 4 of them now. Number 5's coming next week. Let people know. The more people that can hear this, the better.
Absolutely. Yeah, the more the merrier. And thanks for everybody who's tuned in to episode number 4.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good week. Keep on keeping on.
Bye.